Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our today webinar on how to ensure positive shopping experience, step-by-step guide on testing of Magento-based stores. I'm Elena, Business Development Manager at QATestLab, and my partner in a crime today is QA Program Operations Manager with more than 5 years of experience, Anna Kravchenko.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here and have a chance to share useful tips and that can possibly improve the work of many.
Today with Anna, we will discuss how to start testing Magento and what types of testing to implement, who is a Magento tester, and what bottlenecks especially need to be checked, and more. But first, let's check your internet connection. Leave plus in question section if you see and hear as well. Yeah. You know, when you are a part of QA team, you are starting to check and test everything. I'm still waiting for your plus. Okay, I see that everything looks pretty good. Also, please, during our webinar, write any question you might have in the location in section question, and we will answer all of them at the end of our webinar. The recording of our webinar will be sent to all the registrants and attendants within the next couple of days. Okay, let's move to our topic. It's a known fact that Magento is one of the most popular CMS platforms in the world. A great amount of large and small online stores use the Magento platform for their needs. Anna, does QA engineer need to have any special knowledge to test it?
The tricky thing is that Magento has a lot of its own peculiarities that you need to know in order to accurately and efficiently test it. It's just extremely difficult to perform testing for Magento online stores only with the help of just an ad hoc testing. It's not enough. That's why we raise the importance of this issue in our webinar today.
Oh, I see. So if the owner of an online store based on Magento want to test it, what should he or she start with?
First of all, you need to have a Magento e-store, and then you of course require a QA team. We want to talk today what kind of team, in-house, remote, vendors one, whatever. Today we are concentrating on the solution, Magento e-store, and on its testing tasks. So you need a testing team or one QA engineer. Of course, if this is one person, then the process will last much longer. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month. If the client wants to handle all this faster, then of course it's more profitable and to involve a testing team. In this case, if the choice turns next to the team of testers, an indispensable option is to engage a QA project manager or QA lead or QA coordinator. It can be in-house team or an independent testing provider like QATestLab.
Okay, and before testing, the client needs to understand exactly what testing he wants to be provided with, what he needs to check. Anna, tell us please, are there many options that can be checked in Magento-based stores?
Uh, from my experience, at least four. Um, yeah, the first option is to test a new online store from A to Z before its release. Or online store can be already released for a long time, but the testing has not been carried out. And now store owners want to check the quality of their store. These variants are classical. The second option can be in the case of the online store migration from Magento 1 platform to Magento 2. Uh, Store owners commonly engage the software testing in order to verify that all the data qualitatively migrated to another version and that all the technical features that used to be in the store operate correctly on the second version.
And are the options of Magento testing which are not directly connected to the testing of the online store itself?
Sure, they are numbers 3 and 4 on my list. The third option can be applied specifically to the integration testing, but not to the entire store. What does it mean? This is testing of the integration process of Magento Store's data with third-party data storage and processing systems. It can be CRM, ERP, databases, etc. For example, information on the availability, quality, quantity, description of products is stored in some third-party system. And from this system, this data are put to Magento. That is integration. Often, the stock updates all the information inside the system, but then all the data should be correctly integrated into the Magento admin panel and displayed correctly on the website. Usually, in such cases, QA engineers apply integration, API, and security testing. The fourth option is testing of Magento extensions. If a client wants his store to have additional promotions, push alerts, filters, etc., he can purchase a ready-made extension and not ask the developers to create it from scratch. That's why some companies are creating such extensions by uploading them to the Magento marketplace. For such an extension to be accepted, it must also be of appropriate quality. And therefore, in such cases, a testing team is also involved.
Mm-hmm. And what extensions have you ever tested?
For example, once we tested the extension which provides customers with advanced sorting capabilities. For example, sorting by bestsellers, savings, ratings, etc. Also, our team had a case of testing an extension that allows putting such label as bestseller, special offer, most popular, etc. on the product's pictures in the store. We performed functional usability cross-browser testing for these extensions.
Oh, so many cases when Magento software testing and quality assurance are required. But today, let's discuss the first option in detail. Anna, what is the usual scenario of testing the online Magento-based store before or after its release?
Uh, Over the years, our company has gathered many scenarios and methodologies on how to test a particular product. Concerning testing stores in Magento, there are several scenarios. The first one is due to the technical documentation a client provides us with. The client can provide the QA team with all requirements needed or prepared test scenarios. There is also an option when the QA team can prepare all testing documentation for a client. The client decides whether he needs some test scripts, checklists, whether he needs any kind of test documentation on the test results in order to use it in future, or he can provide it to another tester's team.
Okay, and what are your actions in case the client doesn't provide you with any documentation?
Helena, it's the most common variant when the client doesn't have any test documentation. In principle, he doesn't need it, and there is no need to prepare it. Then, using the ad hoc method, QA engineers test the product on the basis of their knowledge, experience of testing similar products. Uh, they they recognize the system and the logic of such a store and actual conduct testing. It's what about documentation? The second scenario due to type of testing. The client needs to decide what he wants to test. Usually, in such cases, the team suggests performing functional testing of all features and UI testing, which aims at checking the user interface of the product. Functional testing is needed to check the functionality of the site, whether everything works correctly, whether everything is clicked, switched, added, and so on. In such cases, while testing the Magento store, QA engineers go through the usual default user flow and focus on places where some custom functionality was added. Wherever the default development of Magento changed, the client wanted to redo the functionality for themselves. For example, adding new buttons, new fields, new logic, etc.
If I'm not mistaken, changes to the standard functional features of Magento always lead to some new bugs to appear.
Yes, you're absolutely right. That is why special emphasis should be put on such points. For example, changes to the product details page. This is the page where the product information is located, where we have an image of the product, where end user needs to choose, for example, color, size, weight, quantity, and he can add a product to cart. Let's imagine the store owner dedicated to add a button with a pop-up of the dimensional matrix. For example, the dimensional matrix is of a cable. The end user selects the color of the cable, thickness, length, size, etc., and then adds it to the cart. Such functional features need to be checked to work correctly.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for clarification. And what is the next type of testing needed for Magento?
UI testing, of course.
Sorry, Anna, what is UI?
Sorry, I mean user interface testing. This is also a standard type of testing that is used to test Magento stores, which are applied to check the site's adaptability to mobile platforms, cross-browser checking, so that no browser features affect the site's performance. For example, sometimes it happens that in Internet Explorer, it's not possible to click any button. It happens that on a PC, the site looks good and everything works, but on mobile devices, everything crashes and breaks, and it becomes not usable. It's clear that customers from such sites will not buy anything on mobile, and we all know that that's mobile devices that occupy the largest percentage of users using online stores. Mobile adaptability is very important.
Anna, you've mentioned that functional and UI testing of Magento stores is a must. But if a client needs a deep analysis of his store, what types of testing can you suggest that are relevant and useful in this case?
Yeah, there are several types of testing for Magento that are optional but useful and performed at the request of the client. Sorry, I need the next slide. Okay, we can conduct usability testing. It's important if the client has added a lot of their features to the site. For example, designers have drawn beautiful things, but it's absolutely inconvenient for the customers. In this case, our team, from the point of view of the potential customer, is testing all these functionalities. Whether it's convenient, whether it will influence the conversion later. As a result of the testing, the team gives recommendations on how to improve the website. The next one is load testing. If the store owner expects that in the future the store will develop and customers flow will arrive on the site because of some promo campaigns or especially if it's kind of seasonal sales, holidays, for example, Black Friday and so on. To prevent the site from falling, you need to conduct load testing and analyze how many users can be on the site at the same time. By the way, due to my experience, I can define the search scenario due to the type of automation, manual or automation testing.
Oh, okay, and how should the client understand what type of testing he needs, manual or automation?
If it's one-time testing, then of course it should be manual testing. And if the store is in the process of development or implementing new features, are planning in the future, then manual testing is required. Automation testing is usually required for stores that are already fully developed and are going to do some regression testing in the future. In order not to hire testers who will do everything manually, you can prepare automated scripts. Using the scripts, the client can independently check for any malfunctions and bugs. This is suitable for those stores in which significant changes will not be made, and to the main flow, I mean, and which will not be automated.
And such practical scenarios. Due to your experience in testing of Magento-based stores, what life hacks and hints can you suggest?
The most important thing is the QA engineer or QA team should have Magento testing background. Such QA engineers can test not only the front end, they also know the admin panel. They understand the logic. They can also distinguish the default Magento bug from the development bug itself. Such testers who are familiar with the platform work more efficiently, much faster. They no longer have questions to the logic of working with Magento. My second piece of advice is frequently to perform full regression testing on the entire site, especially if new functional features were added, or bugs are fixed, or something is improved on the website. In this case, with a certain frequency, we advise once every 6 months or once a year individually to do regression testing in order to maintain a sufficient level of quality. From the real case, I can tell the next. We conducted the first round of testing. Our clients were successfully launched. After some time, the client wanted to add new features to his store. It was a new payment method. But adding new features often leads to crashes and breakdowns for old processes. In this case, regression testing is essential in order to avoid such breakdowns in advance. In order to avoid bad reviews and complaints of their customers, and in the worst case, the loss of these customers. The last but not least, in regarding the conversion, what do I mean? There are cases when the owners of online stores do not check the level of their own conversion. They do not do analytics of the websites, of their sales. But when they begin to do this through any analytic tools, for example, it could be Google Analytics, often they see that there are some issues with conversion. Therefore, you can engage a team or testers so they check where in your e-store is the bottleneck in the sales funnel, where it happens so that the customer falls off, where is the problem actually.
Okay, thank you. And maybe you have also a case regarding these issues.
Sure. I remember one of our clients who checked the analytics, and he noticed that his customers don't finalize the order after reaching the shopping cart. Our client understood that the problem is in this shopping cart, but there is some kind of bug. And the client could not understand which one exactly. Our team took this case, analyzing the shopping cart, the user flow, um, uh, looking for bugs in the functionality, in the usability of the cart. The problem could be caused by usability of the path to the cart, for example. The path could be, as an example, the path to the cart could be too long and complicated. So the customer gets tired and just go away.
Okay, and so what do you do in such case?
Usually this is done through the analysis of Google Analytics, usability testing, end-to-end testing. We try to trace the flow of potential customers as people who are not familiar with the functionality take on the role of customers to go all the way from searching to ordering products, to understand what could go wrong and what could potentially scare that customer. Sometimes it happens that the site is not adaptive to the mobile device, Then we conduct cross-browser and cross-platform testing. Often, if the client and developers test themselves, they test on emulators. They do not have enough real devices, and when a team or Q engineers with a real pool of real devices is involved, they begin to identify those bugs and have not been identified, which had not been identified before. We also have a case with eStore when the customers put the products to the cart and the huge non-realistic total is shown to them. Of course, customers complained a lot. This online store owners asked us to find a bug, to reproduce it and describe step by step what needs to be done to get rid of this bug. Our QA engineer spent a few days detecting this bug and finally found that where the trouble lies. The problem was that when you collect products for a certain total, there was a limited range of amount extremes. The grand total increased as well.
Such a good job. Your guys are cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I can say bug busters.
Okay, Anna, let's summarize all useful information you kindly shared with us today. So, the first is to understand what you are going to test. Testing the store from A to Z before or after release, testing store migration from Magento 1 to Magento 2, testing data integration processes between Magento store and third-party systems, such as CRM, ERP, databases, stock information, procurement. This is testing API databases. Magento extension testing, both yours and purchased one. The second, to decide whether your project needs one QA engineer or the team. If you have a big scope of work and large task, it is advised to engage QA project manager to keep the QA team motivated and efficient, priorities task, and arrange technical documentation properly, and more. Um, with one more thing, the third, it is not to omit the importance of particular types of testing for Magento-based stores. Functional testing, UI testing, usability testing, load testing, I don't know, regression testing. Also, do not forget that the QA team should consist of specialists who have a wide experience and knowledge of Magento testing to perform regression testing, especially adding new features on your website, and to test your analytics and conversion to analyze your user behavior. So much useful information. And did I miss anything?
No, Lena, it's perfect summary.
Okay. Uh, Thank you, Anna. For sharing some useful guides and hints. And thank you everyone who listened for joining our website today. Maybe someone has some question about our webinar. Okay. I see some question. Okay, and could you please emphasize on the main detail that determined the successful testing of Magento?
Um, Let me think. Um, in my opinion, the prime goal of a tester is a happy customer. If customers are satisfied, they can use the store without any flaws, and so they can leave positive feedback. It's the best indication of high quality of testing.
Okay, thank you. I see one more question. And what are the future prospects Magento tester can have? What are the areas for growth?
Magento does not stand still. This company is constantly working on the development of their platform. Therefore, Magento tester always has something to learn and strive to attain new goals.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I see the last one. Which Magento-based projects dominate and why?
From my experience, it's basically B2B and B2C online stores. But there are cases when we have absolutely custom systems that are developed based on Magento platform. We also have such experience when of testing a single product, and it's you can imagine it did not have even a checkout. It's the most important part of the web store. So the system was absolutely customized, but it was on Magento.
Thank you, Anna. I hope we cover all questions that
I
have that we
hope
have.
so.
So, thank you, Anna, for sharing this useful information, guides, and hints. And thank you, everyone who listen us, who join our webinar today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for being with us today. I hope that today's webinar will open up new opportunities both for Magento stores and for QA engineers as well.
That's right. Let's remind you the webinar was conducted by QATestLab company. QATestLab is provider of independent software testing and QA services. We are helping our customers worldwide to generate maximum revenues from their products. If you want to collaborate with us, don't hesitate to visit our website. Also, don't forget that the webinar recording will be sent to you via mail. So thank you so much one more time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.